All right. Well, unfortunately, the light situation where I'm at is pretty grim these days. I think we are, what now? 7 days away from the shortest day of the year. So we're almost through the worst of it. And then we finally get to work our way towards the best of it. Um, so I apologize for the bad lighting. So I just finished reading this book, Mme Proust and the Kosher Kitchen, which I enjoyed very, very much. But it got me thinking about um, really the only thing that I know Proust from was a parlor game. The only reason I'm aware of this parlor game was because of another parlor game that I learned about in my arts class. And somehow the two got intertwined in my memory. And I was like, hey, wait a minute. There used to be some sort of parlor game related to Proust. I mean, I knew that he was like a French author, but I've never read anything by him. And I mean, a lot of the stuff I read has references to him, but that's about it. So I looked it up, and sure enough, there's something called the Proust Questionnaire. And I guess Vanity Fair does a feature in every one of their magazines at the end of it called the Proust Questionnaire. So basically what it is it's just a questionnaire, and people used to kind of like, in high school you have a yearbook and then you go around and you get everyone to sign it with their like motto, and they have their predictions of what's going to happen to them in the future. I guess people in Europe back at the turn of the 19th century were running around with notebooks, and at the top of the page in of each page in this notebook would be these questions, and then they would just get their friends to write their answers to that question on that page and sign it. So um, this questionnaire, it was not devised by Proust, but he's the one who kind of made it a popular thing. And I don't know who revived it. I mean, maybe it was Vanity Fair who ended up reviving it. I don't know where it ended up coming from. But I thought I do side notes and things in the description, just things that I research in relation to uh, my book reviews or my book entries. And I thought, well, I'm going to answer this because if this was a written book journal, that is what I would do in my written book journal. So I'm going to do it here. And maybe if you have your own channel, you can do it on your channel and then like post the link in my comments below so I can come and see what your answers would be. Or if you don't have a booktube channel or a YouTube channel of some sort, and you're just here watching and you want to play along, you can just answer in the comments below. So, without further ado, here is the Proust Questionnaire. So the first question is, what is your idea of perfect happiness? I have no one idea of perfect happiness. What I know about perfect happiness is that it's a spontaneous thing that just sneaks up on you at the strangest times. And it's just, there are those moments when you realize that the moment that you are in, this moment that you are living, is just a confluence of all kinds of amazing things happening at once. So I don't know. And there you just experience this joy with the realization of how amazing the universe is, that all these things would come together. It's like when I don't know. I'm trying to think. Like the other day, I was driving home, and I got to watch the moon rise, and it was just this beautiful moon. And as it was rising, it was red and pink, and then a beautiful gold, and it was really full. And the stars in the sky that night were amazing. And I was just driving along, and I felt so perfectly happy in that moment. I just thought, my goodness, Isn't this the most brilliant and beautiful thing? And that's just a moment that I didn't plan. It was just a spontaneous thing that just snuck up on me, right? Just like when you're reading a book and you come across a sentence and that sentence just seems perfectly crafted, and then you take a sip of your tea and your tea has been brewed for just precisely the exact right amount of time, and it is the exact perfect temperature so that the flavor can just sit on your tongue at the exact right intensity, and you just sip that and then you read the sentence and the world for just a moment seems like, oh, it was all just put into place just for you, right? That sounds really narcissistic, but I don't know. It's little things. It's the little things that to me are perfect happiness. Number two, what is your greatest fear? All right, I'm going to say it out loud. My biggest fear right now at this point in my life, I think it has been my biggest fear for most of my life, to be honest. But it's definitely falling in love again. I feel very fortunate because I'm older, and so I think that I'm kind of past all the like hormones and things that like try to press you into like falling in love. But I just can't imagine at this point in my life anything more horrifying than that. I think that it would ruin everything. So, yeah, it actually is terrifying to me. I've always been afraid of commitment. Um, I've always been very aware that I'm afraid of commitment. I've always been very honest about that, but that has kind of extended now to like being very afraid that one day suddenly some man's going to show up and ruin everything for me. So I've got my fingers crossed, you know. Um, hopefully it won't happen. I don't. The reason that I fear that so much is I hate that feeling. I hate you can't control it. There's nothing you can do. It's you're helpless against the forces, and you find yourself so often just making such poor decisions, just based on what I'm sure is just like hormones. It has to be. And you just like you do things that are not you, and you say things and you just become this person that isn't you. And you don't care. In the moment, you don't care. All you care about is having this person that you love. And then yeah, it never ends well. Never ends well. So anyway, that's my biggest fear. Three, what is the trait you most deplore in yourself? I don't, I, where do I begin, really? Like, I have a lot of foibles. I really do. Like, a lot. I used to have this lover who would get so frustrated with me. And he'd say, no, for F's sakes. And he'd say my name, and I'd burst out laughing because I would think, oh, yeah, it must be really exasperating just to be near me. Like, I'm that full of horrifying things. The thing I most deplore about myself, I don't think I have a most. It just depends on the moment. I'm full of a lot of self-loathing. But it bothers me that I don't trust people because I feel like that has made my life harder than it's needed to be because truthfully, most people that I've met have been probably very trustworthy. But because I don't trust people, then it makes my life more challenging than it needs to be. So I kind of wish that I was a bit more easygoing that way. Um, what is the trait you most deplore in others? Again, there's a lot of things. I don't like ignorance. I really hate ignorance and prejudice. That kind of garbage makes me very angry. And yeah, Yeah. I'm just, you can tell, just from my face. It makes me. Which living person do you most admire? There are so many people to admire these days, really. Like, we live in a time where we have access to, like, just so much information on the internet. You just see all these wonderful and amazing people doing such wonderful and amazing things, and it is really hard to pick just one, I think. I mean, I'll say this, I guess, just, and this is probably just because she's been in the news so much this year, is probably like that Swiss girl, Greta Thunberg. I think she's done amazing things this year, and for someone who's not even an adult yet, like to be that courageous and to speak truth to power, and even, I mean, she started off just out there on her own, just because she knew that things were bad. Um, Yeah. So I guess right now, I don't know. I'm sure if I thought about it longer, I would probably have something different to say, but I'm gonna go with that for now. What is your greatest extravagance? Oh my goodness, where do I begin with that? Honestly, I think in the end, it's two things. One is books, and two is tea. Like, I mail order loose leaf tea from my favorite tea shops, and I live very far away, and the shipping is like, it's ridiculous how much money I end up spending on tea, and books. And it's not even that I spend a lot on individual books. I just spend too much money on books in general because I just can't stop. The next question is, what is your current state of mind? My current state of mind is fatigued. I know I'm not really fatigued. I'm just kind of feeling lazy. And I mean, I just kind of spent the whole day lounging about reading. And yeah, so I'm feeling a little kind of lazy. Lazy is a good word for it. Um, what do you consider the most overrated virtue? I have to be honest, I don't even know what are the virtues. Like, are they talking about the cardinal virtues? Are they cardinal virtues or cardinal sins? I don't even know. That's how much thought I've given that. Virtues. Hmm. I don't know. Um, Patience. They say patience is a virtue. Isn't that a saying? Um, yeah. I suppose it's probably good for people who have it. I don't have it. I don't feel I've suffered too much for not having it. Like, I just kind of, I'm not a patient person. So generally, I mean, if it's worth waiting for, then I suffer through that and I wait for it. But because I'm not patient, there's very little that I bother waiting for. And I don't feel I've suffered much for it. So I'm going to go with that, patience. On what occasion do you lie? On what occasion do I not lie? I feel like my whole life is a lie. Like, I don't, literally, I do. I feel like I just lie about everything. I am, here's the thing. I have several chronic diseases. I feel like garbage most of the time. And so, but I just like get up every day and go through my day and try not to complain. So I feel like most of the time I'm living a lie. I'm just pretending that everything is great and hunky dory, and people are like, "How you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm fine. How are you?" And I just pretend everything's great. Even though, like, if I was being honest, I would probably just walk around going, "Oh my God, I feel so awful," all the time. Sometimes I like other things, like, sometimes it gets to be a lot. Like, the chronic diseases are there, plus I get the flu or the, like, and then it gets to a point where I'm just like, I'm not gonna pretend anymore. Um, then I usually just stay home. So I don't know, I feel like I lie pretty much chronically all the time. All right. I'm going to split this up into two parts, I think.